Thank you again for joining us today. This is our webinar on unlocking global engagement. We're going to talk about using automated translation for polls, surveys, registration, Q&A, brainstorming, and more in MeetingPulse. Now, MeetingPulse has had for a while functionality that will automatically translate questions into English. It provides psychological safety by allowing people to participate in their native language. This has been, I think, would have been really helpful to one of my former coworkers in particular. I'm thinking about Olga was very nervous about her English. Actually, her English was flawless, but she was nervous about it and would talk to one of the other Russian speakers after meetings. And I just think how much more comfortable she would have been if she could have written in Russian and been understood by everyone, and how much more effective our meetings would have been. MeetingPulse uses the Google Translate option, so we can translate from any of 275 different languages. The translation functionality is included in Q&A, multi-topic Q&A, ideas, and free text polls if you have them in the feed view. MeetingPulse also has localization. What this does is allows you to put the entire meeting into one of 10 different languages. This is going to change the UI, the various buttons, which can make it really nice for when your whole audience speaks the same non-English language. So if you have everyone who is speaking Arabic, you can have your meeting entirely in Arabic, or French, Chinese, whatever works for your audience. What we have added recently, and what I am thrilled to announce, is a language selector. What this is going to do is it will translate the UI into different languages dynamically. And so what this means is that you can have multiple different languages being used by the same meeting. MeetingPulse automatically detects the attendees' preferred language. First, if they have already used MeetingPulse in the past, we'll use whatever they selected before, or we'll detect what browser they what language they have for their browser. This is going to change all of the UI elements based on what they select. It's going to update in real time, so it's very simple for them to switch back and forth at any time. This is also really good for more complex meetings where instructions are really important and you want to make sure that everyone is clear on what they need to do. We have also recently added the option to include translations in polls and navigations. So prior to this, if you would be able to translate the MeetingPulse UI, but your polls would always show the same across all attendees, regardless of which language they selected. With this, you'll be able to include your own translations for polls, for Q&A and ideas, as well as multi-topic Q&A. You'll be able to put in those translations for all of the languages that you select as part of the meeting. It's also going to allow you to translate the navigation bar labels, which is very important, especially for letting people know that it has already changed. I wanted to pause here for a couple of questions to see if anyone had anything yet. Jasmine has sent out our link, so if you would like to open up MeetingPulse, you can submit your questions there. I'll be coming back to this periodically, so if you have questions, type them in and we'll come back to them. Also, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand and we can have a conversation that way. The other thing that we have is automation improvement. So when you have this option for translating content, it is going, the best thing is if you have someone who speaks the language. For our Canadian customers, this is going to be great. They'll be able to put both French and English in for all of the different polls. This is legally required in some cases, so it's nice and convenient for them. However, you may not have anyone who speaks German or Arabic or Japanese. And in that case, you want to be able to provide those as options to people. And so for that, we have Translate with Google. It's powered by Google Translate and will automatically translate all of the poll responses that don't yet have a translation on them. So we're not going to touch it if you've already done a proper translation, but we'll give you a little push with the Google Translate to make sure that all of the other languages are covered. One of the things that I really like about this is that you have people who are voting on what I like to call concepts rather than words. So the example I have on the screen is the best way to qualify leads is, say, asking rapid fire questions during the first conversation. That is a concept. That's a thing that someone might do, and it's something that someone might do in any language. So by having that translated into all of these different languages, you'll have everyone who is voting on that. All of the votes for all of the different languages are consolidated. So whether they voted in German or French or English, their vote will count in the broadcast view, the attendee view, and all of the reports will show that that all of them voted on that concept. Polls, forms, and registration are all going to have this auto translation option. So you'll be able to translate the various different poll questions to a multilingual audience. One thing that is really important when you're talking about an event or a meeting is creating a sense of community, of an audience that's all together. But at the same time, having a multilingual audience, a global audience, it's important to acknowledge that difference. So by having more languages available to your audience, you're showing a commitment to inclusivity by including more languages. And as I mentioned, attendees can easily switch. So if they are not in love with, say, the Arabic, they can switch back to English if that's what they're more comfortable with. All right. So looks like we do not have any questions yet. So let's dive into the demo. All right, so this is a meeting that I have created already. You'll see that we have one question that was submitted. It was submitted initially in French and then automatically translated as part of the translate option. Now, this kind of translation does need to be enabled for each meeting. So to do that, you'll go to Settings, and you want to change the attendee experience. So you will go here and you will auto-translate attendee responses. Sorry, I picked the wrong screen to share. Okay, starting over. Here we have the question for people to in French. We just had one submitted in Spanish, and you can see that the translation is immediate. There's no lagging in doing that translation. To enable this, you'll go into settings and change the attendee experience. And here we have auto translate attendee responses. And this is going to translate all the responses into English. From an attendee perspective, here you'll see each of the different questions and be able to see the original text as well as what the translation is. This can be really nice if you have someone who is at least semi-fluent in both. They'll be able to understand. The other thing that you can do is you can always edit this. So if you have someone who knows a better way of translating it, you can edit the translation to change it. So it's not really a teleworking policy change, but really it's work from home. And that'll propagate across all of these different systems. And beyond that, as I mentioned, we have options for the translation of the meeting. So for that, you can select which meeting you want it to be displayed in. So for example, if I want it to be displayed in French, I can do that. That's going to immediately change the language for each of these different modules, as well as the instructions and the UI buttons and all of that. You can see, however, that my question is still in English because I have not translated it. After you have decided to translate it into a different language, you can also allow attendees to choose their language. Here, you can have a label to say whatever you like. So I can make this language, and then I can select, say, Arabic and French, and let's say Spanish. Now, all of the navigation labels will default to the selected one. You'll notice that I changed it from settings to language. So that's a customization that I've made. And when I switch to French, it does not change that. However, I have the option to add translated versions of this label. So I can just hit translate with Google. Boom, all of a sudden, now it is correct. All of these things, they update in real time, just like everything else in MeetingPulse. All right, now let's look at polls and surveys. So here I have a poll question. This is a medical option. I can go in here and I can edit this. I can add translated version of the poll. And you can see I have the option to type in each of these responses, or I can just hit translate with Google. And all of these are now translated properly. We also have options to upload the translations as a CSV. This is really nice if you've got a whole bunch of different polls that have similar response choices, especially in a lot of different languages. So you'll be able to upload them there. We also, if you discover that you have not picked one of the languages that you meant to pick, you can simply go here to select the languages, and it'll take you back to the choosing of the language section. And we have a similar thing in our feedback form. So we have this and translate with Google, each of the different pieces. Within multi-topic Q&A, here I have this Q&A topic 1. I can go in and I can put in whatever I like. So let's say Q&A on translation. And we'll make this translation again. Now, I can also add a translated version of this topic. You'll see I can specify the name, the description, the call to action, the navigation label, and the text that's going to be on screen when no contributions have been submitted. So, and again, just as easy, click translate, and it goes out. And of course, you can edit this as needed. Okay. Any questions so far? Let's see. Can the translation prompt be set at the template level? Yes. Yes, you should be able to set the translation to that this label to a template so that everyone can, so all of your meetings can have the same terms. And I believe that you can have the translated version of the label that it will remember all of those as well. So if you can have an org-wide explanation of or an org-wide kind of template and standard for the settings. Always happy to help. Okay. So that is the bulk that I have for you on our new language capabilities. And I'm going to show you a couple of sneak peeks of new functionality that we will be releasing soon. Oh, what languages are currently supported? So we have 10 languages. English, Arabic, French, German, Italian, Japanese, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, and simplified Chinese. And for Arabic, which is a right to left, language, we have appropriately switched all of the formatting to go from right to left, rather than just swapping out the words. Okay. Any other questions? Right on. Okay. So we are very pleased to announce that we are going to have a Google Slides integration. What this will do is it will allow you to take your Google slideshow and bring it inside of MeetingPulse. You may or may not have noticed that I am using a Google Slides slideshow right now, and I have been able to integrate our MeetingPulse tools directly in there. One of the things that I like is, for example, I can go in here and this is a Zoom meeting, so you guys don't really need this QR code. So what I can do is go into our Q&A and configure the broadcast. And we don't really need any link because you're going to be using it all in here. And now I go back to my Google Slides and go full screen. And you can see I don't have that confusing QR code anymore. The Google Slides will also automatically launch polls as you need to do so. The MeetingPulse has spent a lot of time and continues to spend time to create a great experience inside of the web version of our slideshow. It is simpler for us to have clearer formatting rather than in something like the PowerPoint plugin, which uses Edge and has to be embedded inside of a window inside of your slideshow. With the Google Slides integration, instead, MeetingPulse is going to just completely replace one of your slides with the broadcast view. You can also have a teammate assist you. So far, I have been using arrow keys to go back and forth, but I also have the option here to switch between slides, and Jasmine could assist me, or anyone else could assist me in switching between the slides. When it's launched, which should be in the next few weeks, we are going to have, you'll find a link in the admin dashboard to Google Slides under integration. And you'll want to go there to install the Google Slides integration. And here, let me just show you how you go about doing that. So I'll go first to integrations and scroll down and go to Google Slides. And here I will install. Now, if you've got multiple accounts, make sure that you pick the right account that you want to use. I'll hit continue, accept. And as this shows, you'll find this in the extensions. So here I have my Google Slides demo, and I'll go to extensions and find MeetingPulse. So I can open my sidebar. I will sign in to my MeetingPulse account. And now I can select a meeting. And from here, I can add a poll results slide or what have you. You also need to go and finish linking MeetingPulse to your Google account. So we'll go to the meeting. And you'll find MeetingPulse has its own Google Slides module here. And what you need to do is click Authorize with Google. Again, make sure that you have the right account that you select. And grant permission again. And now you're all set to go. And so you can see I have the questions, and you can see that this has already launched automatically. There is a charge for language, but there is not a charge for Google Slides. Google Slides will be available to everyone. MeetingPulse cannot, Google Slides doesn't allow MeetingPulse to mess around with the controls inside of their system. So unfortunately, you have to take Google Slides and bring it into MeetingPulse. So you'll need to control the Google Slides and the MeetingPulse features from inside of MeetingPulse entirely. All right. The other thing that we are adding that I am very excited about, everyone is very excited about, is an option to create polls with AI. AI is for everyone, but this is really a fun option that I think is going to be really useful to a lot of our customers. So for this, what we're doing is we allow AI to create your poll. So for example, you will set a poll objective along with your industry, and you can specify how many polls you want it to give you, the number of responses, and then perhaps setting additional content. It'll provide you with a bunch of different polls. You can choose if any of them look good to you, then you'll be able to add them to your MeetingPulse account or your MeetingPulse meeting with just one click. So here, and that is actually how I have created all of these different questions. So I'll open up our AI assistant. This is a sneak peek. It's going to have a lot more polish. But we have a lot of people asking about, say, icebreakers. And you may want to have some kind of informal icebreaker. Perhaps you're talking about the finance industry. So we can generate a list. And so here you have some basics like, what's your go-to drink after a late night work session? And how do you unwind? And which superhero would you like to manage your finances? And so for this one, I can also create it with an editor, which means that if I want, I can add or. And all of these things can be generated again, so we can have educational, which is going to give us less superheroes and more information about these kinds of quiz questions. And quiz questions will come and have the correct answer already selected, so you'll be able to see it that way. All right. Let's go back to our Q&A. Any other questions on this or really anything else? All right. Well, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for joining us and participating as part of our presentation. Please do reach out to us if you have any questions at all. If you'd like to talk about language packages or have questions about Google Slides, anything and everything, we're happy to help with.